I'm not sure there's a BMW that I can order new today that even slightly interests me. Okay, maybe the G29 Z4 in manual. Props to BMW that they still make that, but you pay £60,000 for the privilege. See, I bought this piece of golden era noughties BMW for just a 20th of the price of a new Z4. I paid only £3,000. And yes, it's got close to 130,000 miles on it, and it is ever so slightly crusty. But just look at those dials and listen to the sound that the car makes when you adjust the electronic wing mirrors. Listen to the sound of the indicators. And listen to the sound that this light switch makes when you turn the lights on and off. There's no distracting, soulless iPad stuck to the dashboard. It is simply me, this steering wheel, this 5-speed manual gearbox, and this engine. This car really wants for nothing. However, there are a few little things that my BMW specialist picked up on which we ought to address. So I'm going to navigate these ever so slightly damp, autumnal, leafy roads down to my friends at RBM Hampshire. So we've got a number of jobs to do today on the BMW Z3 then. First of all, with the engine, there was a couple of oil leaks identified, one from the very common rocker cover gasket and another from the slightly more difficult to get to oil filter housing gasket. Moreover, the front roll bar bushes were very corroded, and so we're going to be replacing those along with the front anti-roll bar drop links while we're in there. I've been getting some judder through the brake pedal and through the wheel under braking, so we're going to be replacing the front discs and pads as it looks like those discs could be warped. I also decided that it would be a good idea to do a front to rear fluid change, so that includes the engine oil, the transmission oil and the differential oil. Now, as I've just driven the car about 20 miles to RBM, it makes the most sense to let the engine cool down before working on that. So we'll start with the brakes. This is probably the 4th or 5th time now that I've watched a professional change brakes on one of my cars, and I have to say, maybe it will be the last. Although I've done it a couple of times assisted on my cars prior, I think now going forwards I'll be able to tackle brakes myself in most cases. However, as you'll see, we did come across a problem which, had I been doing this on my driveway, I don't think I would have necessarily identified. Nonetheless, the process is generally quite simple. The wheel comes off, the caliper retaining clip comes away, and in this case, as we're changing the discs, we'll remove the caliper as well, which makes it really easy to do the pads also. However, the problem was, it turns out that the calipers were seized. Now, amazingly, we were able to find a reconditioned pair from Eurocar Parts for £102 plus VAT. These are an OEM BMW pair, but they've just been stripped, blasted, and then repainted. With the calipers in hand, it was a case of fitting the new discs and pads and putting it all back together. The pads, although not OEM BMW, are from TRW, who are actually the manufacturer of the OEM pads. This means they're pretty much exactly the same, however much cheaper to buy. The cost for both front pads, discs and the wear sensor was only £127 plus VAT. With the calipers added on top, that brought the total cost of around £230 plus VAT to change the front brakes, but hopefully it will fix my warping issue. The brakes all sorted, then Tim turned to the anti-roll bar bushes and drop links. Now you see these big bushes here, these are the bits we're trying to change, and to get to them you have to drop this roll bar. Once you've done that, it's actually quite easy to remove them and therefore to replace some new ones. You can see with the old ones removed what a state they were in, especially compared to these nice new ones, which by the way only cost £7 each plus VAT. As the drop link bushes were coming away, we decided to change the drop links as well. These are probably the smallest drop links I have ever seen in my life. but for a cost of 35 quid for the pair, it seems like a no-brainer to change them. Fingers crossed this should just make the handling feel that extra little bit tight. However, I'm not expecting miracles because at the end of the day, it's still a Z3, which is known for being fairly wallowy and not very clingy in the corners. After completing those brakes and those few suspension components, everything had cooled down enough for us to look at the engine. Starting with the very common weak point on these engines was the rocker cover gasket. When you do this job, you'll normally be supplied with some bolt seals too. Now again, this sounds like a job to me that is rather complicated, but watching Tim go ahead and pull away the covers before getting to the rocker cover gasket, actually I feel like this is something I could attempt in the future as well. It really is a case of pulling away one seal and adding in another one, but I think the key thing is knowing exactly where and how much to lubricate it before putting it back in the car. There's a particular weak point at the back of the engine where the rocker cover attaches to the block, which apparently, if not lubricated properly, can make the whole job redundant. By doing this job as well, you afford yourself a magnificent view of this gorgeous, wonderful inline-six engine. This car is on nearly 130,000 miles, but it just still looks so clean in there. After putting all of that together, it's time to move on to the oil filter housing gasket. Now, I thought this would just be something that sits in the oil filter or under or above it, but in my naive brain I didn't realise that that actually sits quite a long way down in the engine, and to get to you have to remove a fair few bits, namely the air filter housing. I wanted the experts to tackle these few jobs for me because bear in mind this is a 25-year-old car, and what tends to happen when you start taking apart a 25-year-old car is if you don't know exactly what you're doing or what to look for, you're going to end up breaking other things. The worst thing would be if I managed to do this job myself but not realising that I'd put something on in the wrong place or that something had come loose or broken. I wouldn't necessarily be able to tell with my lack of experience. However, in watching Tim go to work on this oil filter housing gasket, it does just reinforce the fact that really these cars are just nuts and bolts, and with the right tools, equipment and enough patience, it is something that you can tackle yourself. And that's what I'm going to do with a few other jobs in the next episode on the Z3. For example, this breather pipe at the top of the engine has quite literally been taped up, and we weren't able to get the part same day, so I've decided I will order this and do it myself. It should just be a case of removing that air filter housing again and trying not to break anything. There's also a couple other things such as the fuel filler flap not sitting flush and some cosmetic issues with the car, which I hope to tackle in the next video by attempting a machine polish for the first time. So if you do prefer to see me getting more hands on them, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that next episode. And if you're wondering why I'm doing all this work to a 130,000 mile 25-year-old BMW Z3, well, it's because I intend to use it. I'm toying between the idea of going on a budget track day, not over to the Nürburgring like I did in my Porsche, but maybe something like Donington where they do an afternoon session for £99. Or I could take the car on a road trip to somewhere that you might think I should visit. Comment below whether you'd like to see me take this on a budget track day or perhaps a budget road trip somewhere in the UK that maybe I've not visited before. So with those oil leaks fixed, the suspension done and the brakes ready to go, the last thing to do was the front to rear oil changes. Starting with the rear differential, this looked like it probably hadn't ever been done, and when we pulled the bung off, you can see that this oil is, well, black. Was the differential about to fail? Well, probably not, but by giving it fresh oil, I should just extend the life of it that little bit longer, and for the relatively small cost of the oil, which is just 60 quid, it's a nice bit of peace of mind to have. The same goes for the gearbox oil, however, it looks like after we drained this, that perhaps this had been done in the past, but again, for the relatively small cost of £47 for the gearbox oil, it certainly isn't going to hurt. Also, one thing I learned today is that because it's a manual car, it takes a lot less gearbox oil than an automatic. I remember when we changed the gearbox oil on my BMW 7 Series here at RBM, there was enough oil to fill the Hoover Dam, or at least it seems that way. Finally, the engine oil change. Well, that's just an engine oil change. We know why it's a good idea to do them, and I have got a record of this being doing about 5,000 miles ago, but once again, it certainly can't hurt to do it again. This engine oil, along with the filter, was a kit that cost just £40 plus VAT. So with the oil filler cap back on the engine, the Z3 was done. Massive props to RBM Hampshire here, as all of these jobs you saw just took a few hours to complete. Tim went off for a short road test in the Z3 before chucking me back the keys with a big thumbs up. Doesn't this thing just look so cool? I think the Z3 gets better looking each year. Do you agree? Let's take it home then and see how she feels. Gosh, it never ceases to amaze me just how smooth this engine is. I mean, barely a whisper, barely a vibration. Who needs an electric car? The other great thing about this car, which you really notice, is it's just so small. In fact, it's only the tiniest of smidges over 4 meters long, yet it's girthy and purposeful. It has its size where it really matters, because, you know, length these days is just a little bit overrated. Am I right? And then this 3-litre model has just the right amount of power. It's not going to set your balls on fire, but it's not licensed losingly fast either. How fast is it actually though? Let's just try a quick 0 to 60. All right, here we go. Ready? You see, it's not back-breakingly or bone-shatteringly fast. You're not going to get a bill from the council asking you to replace the tarmac you've torn up. And you're probably not going to get Detective Inspector Derek knocking on your door either. Unless you've written something mean on Facebook, that is.
Go on, lad. Go on, kidder. Go on, son.
Although it's wet and really nasty now, it does feel somewhat tauter than before. I think those bushes and anti-roll bar drop links have just cleaned it up a little bit in terms of the handling department. There is a tangible difference there, which is really pleasant. There's no streaks of oil running behind me, and these brakes now, doesn't seem like it, but if we brake a little bit harder without warping them straight away, yeah, there's no judder now through the wheel. That's excellent. I've had cars before where you're forever chasing brake judder, and it isn't always the discs or the calipers. It can actually be alignment or wheel bearings. There's all sorts of things. So that is really good news if, yeah, that has fixed the brake judder. Fantastic. These cars are so obtainable now. They're such a great value. I'm not going to suggest that they're going to go up in value, but I don't think you'll lose your money on buying a fairly nice one of these. And of course, there's much nicer examples than the one that I have. But also, they're fantastically approachable as well. It's, let's say, a great balance. You're not going to hurt yourself or anyone else in one of these if you're not completely mental, which maybe I am slightly. But it's gonna put a smile on your face. I mean, whatever speed you're at in this, it's got the torque. Bit different to my Boxster actually, which doesn't. In fact, maybe I should do a video directly comparing my Boxster and this Z3. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see it. But anyway, essentially what I'm trying to say is that the Z3 is just good old-fashioned classic fun. I suppose the rest can be said for my noughties fleet. And when I do come to move this car on, I'm not at all worried that I'm going to be backwards in some PCP finance agreement. And the money I've just spent on this car doesn't feel wasted. In fact, it feels like somewhat of an investment. My contribution into keeping this 25-year-old car on the road, a charitable donation if you like. And with that line of inquiry, stay tuned, because in the next episode I'm going to invest a little bit less money but more of my time and effort into actually trying to rectify a few things myself. That oil breather pipe does definitely need replacing, so I've got one of them on order. Looks like a little bit of a pig of a job, but I'll try and fix that. And then I want to see if I can improve the cosmetics of this car. It does have a fair bit of lacquer peel and bad paint, a little bit of corrosion, which I probably can't do much about on my driveway, but I can give the rest of the car a good old machine polish. I've never done that before, but I think it's something I should be able to attempt. And I got some topaz blue touch-up paint on order to see if we can get rid of some of those stone chips on the front as well. This car is quite peppered, but it's a car that's been driven, and that is only proof of it. So let's see if we can improve this lovely Z3 even more. But before then, comment below, should I take this thing on a track day, like a budget track day, if that is such a thing, or maybe on a road trip somewhere in the UK that's maybe lesser known? Please let me know your best suggestions. Make sure to follow me over on Instagram and TikTok, where I'm actually making more regular content with all of my cars. You'll see updates over there before you do see them here on YouTube. These videos tend to be a little bit behind real time. Subscribe to me here if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon.